If you truly care about your hair, pay attention now, because no one ever gave you this warning, but you're already seeing the signs in the mirror. The truth is simple and brutal. Most men are destroying their own hair every day without realizing it. And when they finally notice it's thinner, more fragile, and shapeless, and it's too late. Recovery is difficult. Reversal is expensive. Prevention is much easier. And you'll understand that today, what nobody tells you is that there are mistakes so common, so automatic, that you make them without thinking. But your hair feels it all. Every bad habit you repeat now could be accelerating hair loss in the coming months. It's not an exaggeration. It's the real path that leads from normal hair to the dull, thin, and lifeless look that many men try to hide with hats, gel, or desperate haircuts. And the worst part? This doesn't have to happen to you, but it will if you continue on autopilot. That's why this video is a game changer. Today I'm going to show you the 6 mistakes that destroy men's hair one by one without sugarcoating anything. I'll tell you what's harming you, why it's happening, and what you need to do now to prevent your hair from getting worse. In a practical, direct, and structured way. If you ignore this, you'll pay the price in the future. But if you watch until the end, you'll know exactly how to protect your hair and regain strength, volume, and presence before the damage gets worse. If there's one thing almost every man does without thinking, it's getting out of the shower and scrubbing his hair with the towel as if trying to remove paint from his hair. And that even seems like something a practical man would do, right? Quick, rough, straight to the point. But the truth is far less romantic. This friction destroys your hair a little bit every day. Men's hair fibers are naturally more exposed, especially on top, and when you rub them like that, you create micro breaks that leave the hair thinner, weaker, and with that rough texture that no expensive shampoo can fix. The worst part is that you don't even realize it's happening because it's silent damage. But understanding why is enough to never repeat this thoughtless habit again. The first change you can make, and one that will already save you a lot of money, is the first change you can make. Hair. It's about replacing rubbing with compression. Instead of applying force as if you were drying the car, just press the towel against the hair. Let it absorb the water naturally. Just 10 to 12 seconds per area makes a difference. And if you want to go a step further, use a cotton t-shirt or a microfiber towel. They reduce friction and allow the hair dry faster without damaging your hair. If you want to test this now, do the following experiment. Dry half of your hair. Hair one half the old way and the other half this new way. In 2 minutes, you'll see which side looks healthier. You don't have to believe me, just look in the mirror. But there's a second detail that almost no one mentions. Many men twist the hair. They forcefully pull their hair, thinking it's manly practicality. But this stretches the hair beyond its limit and weakens the root even more. And guess where this affects you most? At the top of the head. Exactly where men start to lose density first. Therefore, the right routine is simple. Remove excess water with your hands, press with a soft towel, and only then detangle, always from bottom to top. If it's short, use your fingers. If it's medium, use a wide-toothed comb. In a few days, you'll notice a hair more polished, with more presence, less contrived. And when you understand that, you start to realize that the next mistake, the way you use products, might be sabotaging your look without you even noticing. Now let's be honest. Most men don't know how to use products in hair, and it's not for lack of trying, it's a lack of guidance. You buy any old shampoo, grab a random cream, apply everything however you can, and then you wonder why. Hair. It doesn't look polished, strong, and present. The mistake starts with the order. You need to choose products from lightest to strongest. It's simple. First comes the correct shampoo and conditioner, then leave-in conditioner or light cream, then pomade, and finally the strongest hold products. Many people do the opposite, overloading the hair and leaves the root heavy. And when the man weighs the root, the hair, it loses volume, and volume is life. And there's more. Exaggeration destroys the hair as much as there is a lack of it. You don't need to use a lot of product to get results. In fact, that has the opposite effect. For most men, the right amount of pomade is equivalent to a 10-cent coin, of cream, a 50-cent coin, of hair oil, 2 drops, no more. Anything above that becomes buildup, clogs the scalp and leaves it, hair oily and quick to apply. If you want a practical trick, spread the product on your hands first and then distribute it on hair. It's almost as if you were painting it, lightly and gradually. Only then should you reinforce the shaping. A study from the University of Miami showed that excess product increases the loss of visual density by up to 27%. In other words, the man thinks he's styling, but he's sabotaging his own look. And as if that weren't enough, there's another detail. Many men only apply the product to the upper part of their pubic hair, and they forget the sides and back. This creates a strange contrast, as if the look were incomplete. To solve this, follow a simple logic. Always distribute from the center outwards. Start in the densest area and spread it out. And this creates a perfect bridge to the next theme, because it's no use getting the product right if you dry out the hair the wrong way. It's precisely during the drying process that many men unknowingly ruin the result. And this is a mistake that almost no one has explained to you until now. Now, let me tell you a truth that almost no man realizes. Even if you get the shampoo, conditioner, and even the amount of product right, you ruin all your progress when it comes to drying your hair. Incorrect drying is one of the most common mistakes among men, mainly because almost everyone does it on autopilot. There are guys who dry their hair incorrectly, hair with the hot air glued to the scalp. Others use the hair dryer as if they were blowing dust. And some simply point the airflow wherever they can, thinking that's practicality. But these movements ruin the hair's structure, create frizz, and remove its natural shape. Hair. The right technique is much simpler than it seems. You only need 3 adjustments: distance, direction, and movement. Keep the hair dryer about 15 to 20 centimeters away from your hair. Nothing like burning the roots. Then, always direct the spray from top to bottom, because this aligns the cuticles and leaves the hair for a cleaner look. And most importantly, move the hair dryer constantly. Never leave it still in one place. For those who want a more structured look, you can use a brush or even your fingers to guide the movement. Hair while it dries. A microfiber towel also helps a lot, because it prepares the yarn without damaging it. And if you prefer something even more practical, you can use a cotton t-shirt to remove excess water before drying. If you want an even stronger result, follow this mini tutorial. First, remove the excess with a soft towel. Second, dry 60% of the hair. First, use the cold air setting. Second, use the hot air setting only at the end to shape. And fourth, finish with a cold air setting again to seal. In less than 3 minutes, your hair will be ready. It will look healthier, more organized, and more present. And that sets the stage for the next mistake, because there's no point in drying it correctly if you're using chemicals without understanding their impact on your hair. And that's a point that many men discover too late. Now comes a point that catches many men by surprise. The chemistry you use in hair without even realizing you're using it incorrectly. Whether it's a straightening treatment, dye, toner, relaxer, bleach, it doesn't matter. The real problem is believing that myth that the more you do it, the better it gets. That's exactly the opposite of what happens. Chemicals weren't made to be used all the time. They were made to be used at the right frequency, for your hair type, and that's where most people go terribly wrong. Men with hair thin men repeat processes too early. Men with hair, those who insist on excessive quantities, and those who have hair. Many people with curly hair often apply chemicals where they aren't needed. All of this damages the hair fiber and robs the hair strand of its strength. The first thing you need to understand is that frequency is not standard, it's personalized. If your hair for fine hair, strong chemical treatments should be done at least every 3 months. For medium hair, every 2 months. And for thick hair, depending on the process, up to 45 days. But that's not all. You need to apply chemicals only to the parts that really need them. No dyeing or straightening treatments on the hair. The whole thing every time. That only destroys the ends and leaves the hair lifeless. The focus always has to be on the root, or the section that needs correction. It's almost like trimming a beard. You work on where it grows, not the whole face. And when you start applying it this way, the hair, it responds with more brightness, more strength, and less breakage. And there's more. When you understand the logic behind the chemistry, you realize it's only half the process, because it's no use reinforcing the exterior if the inside of the hair strand is weak. Chemical treatments, when used correctly, can even improve the appearance, but when used without technique, they pave the way for the next problem, a lack of real nourishment, the kind that comes from within. And that's where most men fail without realizing it. They take care of the outside of their hair, but they completely ignore the fuel that keeps the wires alive inside, and that's exactly the next mistake we're going to need to address. Here's one of the truths most ignored by men. It's no use taking care of the outside if yours isn't what it seems. Hair. It's weak on the inside. Most men's hair problems, hair loss, dryness, lack of shine, breakage, start with diet, sleep, and lifestyle. But almost no one talks about it because it's less glamorous. You see a guy buying imported cream for 150 rays, but sleeping 4 hours a night, and then he wonders why. Hair. It never gets better. He even thinks it's genetic, but often it's just a lack of essential nutrients like zinc, iron, biotin, magnesium, and omega-3. Without these, the hair grows weak, and the result is immediately apparent on your head. To solve this, the routine is simple and practical. Enough protein in every meal, meat, eggs, fish, or even whey, vegetables and leafy greens at least once a day, and sources of good fats such as nuts, olive oil, and avocado. Hydration is another point that men underestimate. 2 liters of water a day already makes a big difference in appearance. Hair in just a few weeks, and sleep, it's practically half the process. If you sleep poorly, your body doesn't produce essential hormones to maintain hair strong. Studies show that men with irregular sleep patterns are up to 40% more likely to develop brittle hair. That alone should make you look at your pillow with more respect. And there's a little-known technique, but one that's been validated for decades: soaking your feet for 10 minutes before bed. It may seem strange, but this improves peripheral circulation and helps the body relax, which directly impacts the hair cycle. Those who don't like the sensation can try a quick alternative, a warm foot bath or a hot compress. The difference in hair: it appears in weeks. After applying this, you realize that the mistake wasn't the product, but the foundation. And it's precisely by addressing these foundations that the next mistake becomes even more obvious. There's a daily behavior, so common it seems normal, but that destroys your hair without you realizing it. He has a habit that seems totally harmless, but it destroys the hair. A man's ruthless habit: sleeping with damp hair. Many people do this because they arrive home tired, shower at night, and then run their hands through their hair, and you think it dries while you sleep. But that creates the perfect environment for fungi, inflammation, and hair breakage. The pillow becomes a warm, stuffy greenhouse full of moisture, and that's exactly what weakens the hair. While you sleep, the hair, it gets bent, twisted, and pressed against the fabric. And because it's damp, the fiber is weaker and more elastic. The result? Broken strands, frizz, shapeless texture, and even a bad smell on the scalp. And the worst part, you wake up thinking, my hair woke up in bad shape, when in reality, you sabotaged it overnight. The solution is extremely simple, but very few men do it. Always dry at least 80% of the hair. Hair before bed. You don't need to dry your hair as if you were going to an event. Just leave it firm, slightly warm, and almost dry. You can use a hair dryer on a warm setting, always 20 centimeters away, and finish with a cold blast to seal the cuticle. If you want something even more practical, use a microfiber towel after showering for 3 minutes. It already eliminates a good portion of the moisture without damaging the hair. And there's an extra trick. Swap your regular pillowcase for a satin or silk one. This reduces friction and preserves the shape of the hair, and prevents him from waking up marked. The impact is so great that you notice a difference in just 2 nights. And to conclude, everything you're learning here is based on technical facts. It's not superstition. Studies show that sleeping with a damp scalp increases fungal growth by up to 35%, and this leaves the scalp, hair weaker, and more prone to breakage. Simply correcting this will result in smoother hair, less breakage, and more volume. And now that you understand the 6 main mistakes, it's easy to see where your routine was sabotaging your results. If you avoid these 6 mistakes, your hair, it starts to change much faster than you imagine. You don't need to buy expensive products. You don't need to do 1,000 treatments. You just need to stop sabotaging yourself every day. The difference appears in the touch, texture, and volume in just a few weeks. Your hair, it responds when you stop destroying it without realizing it. Now it's up to you. Subscribe to the channel and do your part. Apply what you've learned and take care of yours hair the right way. See you in the next video.